The little girl suddenly realized that the grandpa nearby may have died just now. The girl was scared by the scene in front of her. She looked back and didn't understand what was going on. Then the old man came over.
Will you help me? That's my wife. We've been together for 26 years. I had to go so quickly I didn't have time to say goodbye to her. Didn't have time to tell her how much I love her. Will you give her that message for me?
Oh, she knows from you.
Tell her I want her to keep on having a glass of champagne every Friday night and make our secret toast to the moon and stars like we always did. And tell her to never feel alone, and then she'll know.
The little girl passed the message on to Grandma. Grandma immediately burst into tears. Then the old man left the world with relief. Time flies. The girl has grown up. Her name is Merlin. Today is her wedding to her husband. Suddenly a compass pattern appeared on the window. The husband asked her if she saw a ghost again. Merlin didn't want to spoil the fun. He lied that he was distracted. But as soon as she left, a soldier in an old uniform appeared outside the window. At midnight, Merlin sat up suddenly from the bed. The husband knew that she had another nightmare. Tell her not to help the ghost anymore. Don't ask for trouble. Merlin smiled and agreed. But how could she let the good girl go? That night, Merlin was awakened by thunder. She found her husband not in bed. She went downstairs to look for him. The canvas on the roof was blown off. The husband is climbing up the ladder towards the roof, prepared to retighten the canvas. He asked his wife to go back to bed first, but Merlin just turned around. I bumped into a ghost soldier. Scared her back.
I need you to help me.
You're not supposed to be in my home. It's not how this works.
Please. I have to go home. My wife is pregnant.
I don't know if I can. What's your name?
Paul Adams. I'm a sergeant from Fort Driscoll.
The next day, Merlin almost ran into a white dog while driving. She stopped the car. Go to the place where the dog disappeared. That's a statue of two soldiers. Looking down, the stone tablet is engraved with Sergeant Paul disappeared in battle in June 1972. So Merlin came to the Overseas War Veterans Association. Ask Mike, the person in charge, to help find out the clues. Mike readily agreed. Merlin looked at the woman in front of her and suddenly realized that it was wrong. Turn your head right away.
You can too see me. I'm not blind. All right, yes, I can see you, but you know what? It's really not a good time.
It's a small thing. You have to tell Joe the key to the safe deposit box is in the pocket of my blue raincoat.
How can I tell him something like that? I mean, what's he gonna think?
Excuse me. I am the one who's been hanging around here for who knows how long trying to find some way to let him know. So who has the bigger problem? You or me?
Merlin tried very hard to remind Mike, but the other person doesn't understand. Merlin took a deep breath and said, "Your wife asked me to take a word. The key to the safe is in the pocket of her blue raincoat." Malin ran away without waiting for an answer. Mike's wife is very happy. Look at Mike again. Merlin, according to the address provided by Mike, found Paul's house. After the car stopped steadily, an old compass suddenly appeared in her hand, and the pointer points straight ahead. She got out and asked a little brother. Unexpectedly, this person is Paul's son Carl. She lied that she was collecting information about local Vietnam veterans. Ask him about Paul. When I mentioned my father, Michael was in high spirits, telling his father's heroic deeds, and I hope Merlin can tell him anything about his father. Merlin agreed, but before she left, she saw that Carl's wife was pregnant. She couldn't bear to tell Carl. His father's soul is wandering.
Paul told me that his wife was pregnant, but what he doesn't realize is that it's his son's wife that's about to have a baby, not his wife.
Although not to me.
Whenever there's a big change in a family, like a child about to be born, it sends a ripple effect to the spirit world. It wakes up the spirit of someone close. That is why Paul's here.
The next day Merlin saw Paul in the street. They came to a cemetery. Merlin asked him what had happened. Paul tried to remember what happened that day. He was in a helicopter. He was attacked by the enemy. The plane began to fall slowly. When he fell, he saw a beautiful waterfall. Then Merlin took him to his tombstone.
Can't be. My wife. She's pregnant.
She had a son 3 months after you were reported missing. He's 33 now with a wife and a baby of his own on the way.
I missed it all. My wife. Is she alright?
I'm so sorry. He mentioned that she died a while ago, I think.
He asked Merlin to help him meet his wife, but Merlin said, "I'm sorry, I can only see souls that have not been transcended." So Paul asked her, "Tell your son the truth of your death." Merlin came to Carl's house and told her the truth, and gave him the compass Paul left behind, but Carl threw her out as a liar. Merlin was very aggrieved and said, I don't want anything from you. Please call the Pentagon to find out. Back home, Merlin was very depressed. Fortunately, my husband comforted me. Then Carl came to the door. If someone tells you the dead father's soul has returned, would you believe it? Carl obviously didn't believe it. He kicked Merlin out. Finally, he came to Maylene's house again in the evening. He called the Pentagon. According to the clues provided by Merlin, I found out that my father Paul was more than 20 years ago dispatched to the helicopter to carry out the mission. Now the military is cooperating with the Vietnamese government. Prepare to send a search team to see if we can find anything. He asked Merlin again how he knew the news. Merlin said, I know it's hard for you to believe, but your father did tell me. Then Paul's soul came. He asked Merlin to ask his son whether he still keeps the last letter he sent to his wife. In the letter, he asked his wife to point his photo at the cradle. After hearing this, Carl finally believed. He was thrilled to learn that his father was there. Paul asked Merlin to tell his son, I'm proud to see you growing up. Carl said, Mom never forgot you. She tells me your story every night. She shaped your image in my heart. It makes me miss you. Hearing this, Paul's eyes filled with tears.
I see his wife, and I'll see my grandchild. I'll always be close by. We'll find you. Tell him he has to go home to his wife if she needs him. That's all that matters now. When that baby comes into his life, man, don't miss a second of it. Not 1 second.
At this time, Merlin was moved by Paul's deep fatherly love. She cried and said, Your father wants you to know that he is always in your heart. When you are at a loss, please look at the compass. It brought him home. When I learned that my father wanted to walk with him, Mike asked his father like a child, Are you there? Father put his hand on his shoulder. Mike really felt the love. This winter, Paul's body was finally found.
What do you think of your grandson?
It's funny. I look at him, and I feel like I can go now.
What do you see?
My wife. She's standing right there. She's telling me to come. She looks as beautiful as the day I left.